In earlier lessons, you worked with equivalent fractions. This lesson will focus on equivalent fractions with denominators of 10 and 100. Let's take a look at this problem. Dost walked 7/10 of a mile. What would be an equivalent fraction to show how far Dost walked in hundredths of a mile? So let's first take a look how far he walked in tenths of a mile. It said he walked 7/10. So if we drew that, so we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, if you had a good laugh with that, 6 and 7. Okay, and that makes sense. It looks right on our model because we know that 7/10 is more than half. As you can see, more than half of our square is shaded. So, but it asked us, well, how many hundredths would that be? Well, if you remember, equivalent fractions are basically fractions that have the same value or share the same amount, just using a different number of parts the whole was divided into. So let's take a quick refresher on that. If you remember, if this is my brownie, okay, and I gave you this amount, I gave you 1/2, okay, but if I took that same brownie, as you can see here, and divided it into 4 parts instead of 2, I have doubled the number of parts. So in order to show that same amount, I'm going to need 2 of those parts, okay, to show the same amount, or 2/4. These two are the same amount, even though they look different, is because of the number of parts we divided the whole into. Well, what we're looking at now, is the same idea. We're taking 10 parts and we want to see, well, what would happen if we took those 10 parts and then made it 100 parts. So as you can see, I'm going to bring the hundredths grid on top of the tenths grid. And now we can count out. And a faster way to count that is we see that that each row here, or column, is 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 10, and each one of those is 100. So that's 10 hundredths, 20 hundredths, 30 hundredths, 40 hundredths, 50 hundredths, 60 hundredths, 70 hundredths. So we know that 7/10 is the same amount as 70 out of 100, or 70 hundredths. These two are equivalent fractions. And if we go back to our pattern that we found, we know that we increase the number of parts in our grid 10 times. So in order to keep it equivalent, we must increase the number of parts we're interested in by the 10 times. And it does check for both that 7 times 10 is 70, 10 times 10 is 100. So 7/10 is equal to 70 hundredths. Okay. All right, let's take a look at a different type of problem. Let me separate my tenths and hundredths grid out here. Let's look at this problem. Carmen says that she has 4/10 of a dollar. Troy says that he has 50 hundredths of a dollar. Together, what fraction of a dollar do they have? Okay, so originally it said that Carmen has 4/10 of a dollar. it says that Troy has 50 hundredths of a dollar. Well, just reasoning through, we know that Carmen has a little less than half a dollar. Troy has exactly half a dollar. So we know our answer should be close, but a little less than than a whole dollar. So let's model. Carmen has 4 tenths, so let's put that on our tenths. So that's 1 tenth, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths, 5 tenths. Oop, she only had 4 tenths. I hope you got a good laugh out of that. Okay. So 4 tenths. Always double check yourself. So 4 tenths, and it is a little bit less than half. It says that Troy had 50 hundredths. Well, I know that there are 10 hundredths to make up a tenth. So this is 10 hundredths, 20 hundredths, 30 hundredths, 40 hundredths, and 50 hundredths, which is exactly 1/2. Okay. So it asks, remember, together, so that's joining. So if we join these two amounts, we see that if we take Carmen's and put them over if we put them okay, so that 1/10 is equal to 10 hundredths. So we can see that Carmen's okay, her 4 tenths is equal to 40 hundredths. So now if we join these two amounts together, we have 50 hundredths from Troy and then 40 hundredths from Carmen, and of course 50 and 40 more makes for a total of 90 hundredths, which is reasonable because we said our answer should be a little less than 1/2, and we're only 10 hundredths or 1/10 away from being a whole. All right, so let's try another one then. A farmer planted 68 hundredths of corn in his field. Okay, so in his field, 68 hundredths of his was corn. And he planted 3/10 of beans. So what fraction of his field did he plant with beans and corn? Okay, so we're talking about combining these two amounts. So again, let's combine them respectively on the tenths and hundredths and then see what they would be together. Well, I know 3/10 is less than half. I know 68 hundredths is more than half. So we should be getting close to a whole here. All right, so if this is his 3/10, so 1, 2, 3/10 are beans, and then 68 hundredths, and again going back, we know that each one that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 68 hundredths. So if we combine these on the hundredths grid, so we're going to write an equivalent fraction for 3 tenths. So 3 tenths would be equal to 3 tenths would be equal to how many hundredths? So let's see. Let's move them. We know that every time that we can see, okay? So we can see that for every tenth we make 10 hundredths. So that this would be equal to 30 hundredths. And of course 68 hundredths is already here. So 30 hundredths plus 68 hundredths, we would get a total of 98 hundredths, which is almost his entire field. Didn't tell us what these final 2 hundredths would be, which is not much of his field. Alright, this wraps up our lesson on writing equivalent fractions with denominators of 10 and 100. It's very similar to writing equivalent fractions like we've done before. In this case, it's only dealing with denominators of 10 and 100. So now go to Edmodo, work your couple of problems with equivalent fractions with tenths and hundredths, and then submit your answers.